Welcome back. Windhoek has recently seen a rise in crimes involving individuals using Mazda Demio vehicles to pose as taxi drivers and target passengers. This has led to a growing public mistrust towards legitimate taxi drivers using Mazda Demios, affecting those who rely on them for honest work. This morning, we're joined by Secretary General of the Namibia Bus and Taxi Association, NABTA, Pendapala Nakathingo, to better understand the issue, its impact on the industry, and what can be done to restore public trust and protect both passengers and drivers. Sir, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
What is your understanding of this recent spike in criminal activity involving Mazda Demios in Windhoek?
Well, of course, our understanding in terms of NABTA in this regard, it is really devastating. We were disturbed by the news, and the Mazda Demios. I don't know why these criminals. Probably, I can take it that Mazda Demios become more. There are so many in the industry, probably because they are cheap. Yeah, and maybe they were now easy to be accessed to. So therefore, the criminals are now using Mazda Demios as a uniformity of conducting their crimes. So really, it is devastating.
So because they're already saturated in the market, and perhaps it's...
Yeah, 100%. Just because, most of those now involved in the criminal activities in the taxi industry are young people. So, and the government really need to look at that.
Now, how has the situation affected legitimate taxi drivers who use this type of vehicle for their business?
It has negatively affecting them, because now the passengers that are now relying on public transport, services such as Demios, they are now seeing it as a hub of criminals. Now, especially youth, they are now afraid. Everybody now afraid to use the Mazda Demios. They really see it as a threat to them, and it has painted a very bad picture in this at this moment.
Is this something that's particularly unique to Windhoek? Is it something that's being experienced across the nation, for example?
These particular criminal activities has been experienced not only in Windhoek. I can tell you it has been rising also in the northern region, particularly Oshakati, Ondangwa, and the surrounding areas. It is a growing concern that really the government really need to see to it that apart from NABTA, we really also need a strong support from stakeholders. So it is, especially now here in Windhoek, it is increasingly criminal activities almost every day happening. And the passengers really need to be protected. So it's something that really a concern.
Now, would you say are there any gaps in regulation or taxi identification that make it easy for criminals to pose as taxi drivers, particularly using private vehicles?
Of course, there is a challenge in policies and regulations, of which now these individuals are now taking a chance to conduct their criminal activities using the public transport as their mode of conducting their crimes. So, and this is a matter of joint efforts from both parties, stakeholders, particularly from the government. I still have to strongly pressing on that, because should there be a strict regulations in transport, this might not be happening. But of course, we are coming from the colonial era. Most of the laws that we are using are now old laws, especially now the laws that is regulating public transport. You can imagine the laws of 1977, Act of 1977. We appreciate our politicians because they are trying their level best to, pass the new law that can protecting the taxi industry, which is really something that need to be supported by everybody. So therefore, especially in this regard, now regulations and policies become necessary for the industry to be protected. So, you know, the taxi industry is a sensitive industry, which now carrying the entire nations, moving the nation across the country and elsewhere. So for those who are now depending on the public transport, really the policies and regulations become necessary.
What are some of the crimes that have been reported by criminals using Mazda Demios?
I take a deep breath because those criminals in that particular regard, I've been also one of the victims as I'm sitting with you here. And when I read the history or the story about the Mazda Demio taking passengers, especially now, it was women, you know, driving with them to the area of Home Affairs. That is exactly where the incident, where myself was involved. That was now 2018, to be exact, on the 28th of September. So we were having a meeting at Avani at that particular afternoon. After the meeting, it was around between 7 to 8, and I was now to travel immediately after the meeting. I have to travel to the north. So that day, I didn't with my car because we were with my colleague. So we drove from Avani through that, what is this? Main
Independence Avenue?
No, not
that
Independence
area?
Avenue. You know, from Avani, we have to use this passing Venner taxi rank, and we have now to use this road to Home
But in
Affairs,
that area,
between
yes.
EC and Home Affairs. When you reach Van Rijn, you have to turn the right. I asked them, where are you going? No, we're just dropping one of the passengers here. When we turn, you know, into this riverbed in this bushy area, immediately they just have to stop in the middle of the road. And I have now to defend myself. I have lost my official documents. I have lost some of my properties, the cell phones. Luckily, I overpowered them, and they have to fled the scene. So it is really a situation that, especially now the women, I was reading now this story of where the women have been kept in captivity for almost 3 hours. It is something really serious that really need to be addressed. So now, this criminal now seeing this chance, robbing students of their gadgets, laptops, cell phones, and everybody else. So it is really something, I think I'm appealing to the city police, might be now to deploy members at that specific area. I took note also now that they are now using these areas of hospital, alongside the hospital, you know, that road, so to those surrounding areas, bushy areas. I think the city police and the Namibian police, they need to deploy people behind, you know, Home Affairs and the side of the central hospital where this criminal activities is happening. It is really a situation that need to be addressed as a matter of urgency.
Yes, now this brings me to my next question. You spoke about the city police. Has NABTA reached out to the city police? And you also particularly mentioned your case that happened in 2018, showing that this has been long time coming, possibly more prominent now. But
Yes.
what has NABTA done?
So, of course, NABTA, we are always engaging with the law enforcement, and especially in my case, I've reported it to the city police crime unit. So, and it was attended to. Unfortunately, the culprit were not identified or being caught. So we are continuing engaging our law enforcement, officers, so that we can now strengthen the relationship, the law enforcement, to see to it that, especially those areas I've mentioned, not only those, but really just to be vigilant, but those are now the hotspot areas. So NABTA at this particular moment, we have been, especially per my personal experience and that of others, we are developing the system where the passengers and the drivers shall be protected, especially for their own safety and security. And we now need to also to strengthen. We are busy now working on strengthening the identification mark of the taxis. You know, nowadays, or previously, the taxis used to have the taxi light or taxi lamp on the roof. So now it's no longer the case, because now some criminals see that, no, they don't want to carry the taxi light on the roof and so forth, but it is something that can be identifying, can make the taxi to be identified. And then taxi numbers, this numbering system, the identifying numbers, it is also something that really need to be now, we are working strongly on that, so that all the taxis must be identified. And taxis will be now marked and registered according to the owner, the real owners, and the drivers that is now driving that particular taxi. And now the public will be knowing, there is a system that we are working on, when you're just pressing the number, so then all the particulars of that particular vehicle, the drivers, the owners, will be appearing. So very soon we are now just going to fasten the process so that this come to, to the fruition.
Now, you've spoken about some of the strategies that you will be implementing to just curb this type of crime. Maybe again, really placing emphasis on these long-term strategies. What does NABTA propose to do to improve safety, rebuild public confidence, and protect both passengers and honest drivers looking ahead? Because today it can be Mazda Demio, the next day it can be another affordable vehicle. They have to keep getting creative, if I can put it that way. What are the long-term strategies?
Of course, as I just explained, that was one of the long-term strategies that we are now working on.
Yes.
And what I'm saying is that to the appreciation, there are some stakeholders that are now coming on board. I have mentioned recently that MTC has come on board. Really, they want to see how best they can support the taxi industry. And also some other stakeholders. We're just appealing, particularly to the government, to support NABTA. We cannot do this alone. You know, the taxi industry have been challenging for a number of years, and we cannot just let it be, going on like that. So therefore, really, the public transport, the taxi industry system that we are now working on will be the solution. And as I said, the majorities of the Namibians are relying on the public transport services. So towards that, this system will be a solution. And we are not saying that only that system that is going now to curb all the criminal activities, but laws, regulations, support from other stakeholders, it will be a measure that is now going to curb and combat this particular crime within the taxi industry.
Thank you so much, sir.